Welcome to the Big Kickoff Sports Bar. Myself, Roy Shanahan and Neil Dobbs. David Bugle and Nathan Doyle aren't with us tonight. They are in at the Aviva and have declined to talk to us from there. Obviously sozzled. Neil, 1-1 with Serbia and Republic of Ireland, and a performance that we've seen probably against Portugal, and a result this time, which is more impressive, I suppose, in the end.
Yeah, I think so. I think like the way they played, the way he had them set up, I think was very similar to the Portugal game. I think the kind of football they played, the brand of football they played, I'd maybe even go so far as saying the risks that they took across the back line by, playing between centre backs and stuff like that was the same. I guess the difference is they didn't get their just desserts against Portugal, which I think they fully deserved. And maybe we got a little lucky tonight at times. I think we got the result, which is absolutely brilliant. I'm delighted for Stephen Kenny and the players and for the crowd that turned out tonight. But it was, I don't want to say fortunate, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, a draw is a draw. I thought the keeper had a magnificent game, but when your keeper maybe is man of the match, it kind of tells its own story. But a result nonetheless. And listen, we could be sitting here saying, yeah, we huffed and we puffed and it was 1-0 and we lost again. And it'd be a little bit of a downer, but encouraging maybe the way that game finished and the way the players responded to the crowd at the end.
Yeah. I think when you look at the Portugal game, you look at the Serbia game, definitely being more comfortable on the ball is so much more noticeable. Being encouraged to be comfortable on the ball. Obviously, against Portugal, there was a little bit of overplaying. Tonight, I touched on it a couple of times, but no, did really, really well. Probably our biggest problem at the moment is our final third, because we're actually getting ourselves up into good areas up into the final third, and we're slightly running out of ideas there, aren't we?
Yeah, look, it's the transition when we're playing around the back. There was a couple of times tonight where we were playing across the three backs and they pressed us high, and we eventually had to go up the pitch, or we're trying to get up the pitch, and Adam Ida gets kind of isolated. So it's about getting that balance in your midfield where your support, because we are playing effectively five. You need to be, we're compensating an extra man in the midfield, but we're losing that extra man up front, or at least a supporting player to get up to Adam Ida up front. Now, again, Adam Ida is after playing 3 games in a couple of days. Credit to him, and I think he's done very well. He's led the line, but he needs more support. He needs to get up there quicker. For my money, I'd appreciate maybe a couple less phases of play where we're playing out from the back and just a little bit more direct at times. But again, only on the precipice that we get guys up to Adam Ida to support them, because we do struggle. It's refreshing, I think, in some ways that we can hold on to the ball and we're not as knackered as we used to be in the last 10, 15 minutes of games. But I would like to see us with more phases of play in the final third. And I guess Stephen Kenny might reflect on this later on and let us know how he feels he's going to bridge that gap. Because at the end of the day, we relied on an own goal. Where are we going to break them down? Where are we going to get up the field? Where are we going to create a couple more opportunities?
Yeah, and I think that's it. When you look at the shots on target, Serbia had 10 and we had 2. So it shows where we're kind of just let down. It's just that bit of inventiveness in that final third. Someone with a killer instinct. I know people harp on about Robbie Keane, but you need that type of a player, and they have those players up front with Mitrovic and Tadic and maybe to a lesser extent Jovic, but they have players who can create that little something out of nothing. We don't necessarily have that. We're definitely more of a team unit, aren't we? And you can just see that we're probably looking to nick these games 1-0 or a lucky stretch, maybe a 2-1.
Yeah, I think, look, at the end of the day, you got to play to your strengths as well. And there was a couple of aspects of the game today which reminds you of, I know it's kind of old-fashioned, but that our set piece is very strong. When you get Duffy and Egan, for example, up into their box, we are a massive, massive threat. They're not comfortable guys to defend against. I think we need to develop more. As I say, there are more phases of play. There was some lovely work from James McLean there tonight, where he was flying down the wing and delivering these crosses into the box. But there was only ever one man in there. I think Brown, remember the one where he miscontrolled it on the back post? But it was only really him in the box. So it would nice to see a different kind of phase of play where the ball is going to McLean, he's getting to the byline, and maybe he's pulling it back. And that might give one or two of your players an extra couple of seconds to join Eden Brown or whoever it was in the box, to be more of a threat. Because I don't know, the longer that game went on tonight, I wasn't quite sure we were going to carve them open, but I was more hopeful like that something a little bit more direct or set piece might open them up for us.
Yeah, but what you definitely can say is for the last 20, 25 minutes, we put them under extreme pressure. They weren't moving as well as they were in the first half. When we shifted the ball from the right wing back out to the left wing again, there seemed to be an awful lot of space on the opposite side. And you could see that they were tiring quickly compared to us, where we were coming on strong. So it shows that there's a good unit there. It shows that the possession that we're keeping, a better possession that we're keeping, is, as you said, helping us not tire out. And actually, it's putting a little bit more pressure on the team. It gives the crowd a bit more spirit, and the crowd again feed then the players. And it all sorts of wraps up into one thing where it's just a lot more positivity around this team.
Yeah, I think Kenny has done something which I'll give him credit for as well, is that he's introduced a couple more players. You know, when you're in the crowd and you see a guy coming off the bench, I thought Collins tonight, but particularly Robinson, made a good impact when he came on. And it's important to have subs that are going to contribute. You know what I mean? You want these guys coming off the bench. But I thought Robinson was popping up in all sorts of great areas. He was delivering some really good ball. And to be fair to Stephen Kenny, he's blooded these players now to bring them in as part of the unit, as well as a couple of new faces in the midfield. So we're going to need that, you know what I mean? And maybe with clever subs like that, again, like he brought Ida off, but I think he had to come off. I mean, he too many games and too many days. But it's good that you have fresh faces that are in there, and they're not kind of bit part players. They're players capable of playing at that level, and he's going to need to find a couple more of them.
Yeah. Gavin Bazunu, man of the match. For reasons, obviously, because there was 10 shots on target and he had to deal with an awful lot. And it does show that, you know, first of all, that he looks to me like he has the potential to be a world-class goalkeeper. You look at goalkeepers across the water, you look at even English goalkeepers, how they hype them up with, you know, Joe Hart and David James and all that. And they never reach the heights of being a world-class goalkeeper. But Gavin Bazunu has everything in his favour to go there, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, putting my Liverpool hat on, you know, you're looking at Caoimhín Kelleher and the kind of standard that he brings. But at the end of the day, Caoimhín Kelleher is not playing regularly for his club, and he won't be playing regularly for his club unless Alisson gets an injury. So Gavin Bazunu is after coming in here, and man, has he grabbed the headlines. The penalty save from Ronaldo was enough, but the performance tonight was solid, absolutely solid. He's brilliant with the ball at his feet, and let's be honest, that's key in the way that Stephen Kenny wants to play. A lot of the phases of play start with a keeper that's comfortable with a ball and can pick out a pass. And that goes as far as like the likes of the Premier League. The best goalkeepers are the best goalkeepers with the ball at their feet. So Bazunu's after grabbing his chance. He's playing week in, week out. You know, over the years, right, international goalkeepers get that kind of little bit of extra recognition, even in their club teams. There's an extra maturity. There's a, you know, Shay Given, when he got in there, it elevated him up a level. And you hope that that's going to happen with Bazunu now, that this kind of gives him this confidence to grow. It's a brilliant confidence to get. And what is he, 19 years? Absolutely fantastic.
And this is the thing, Ederson is there at the moment. You could easily see Bazunu going out on loan for a bit like Foden being just kept away from that team for 3-4 years. But it'd be madness to let him go anywhere, wouldn't it? And you could probably see in 3 or 4 years that transition happening.
Well, I don't think City are afraid to send anyone out into the open and let them play games. I mean, it's the mark of a good club. Chelsea and City do this consistently, where I think they've the most players on the books, but they're not on the books, so to speak. They're out, you know, they're out earning their badges elsewhere. So that's the key to a successful club. And then all of a sudden, this guy comes up the ranks and someone else picks him up, and the next thing you know, he's your next number one. So there's different ways of going about it. I think goalkeepers in particular at 19, it's a very, very young age for a goalkeeper. And none of the real top teams are going to be putting a 19-year-old in goal. I don't care who they are. But you can develop later then in your 20s and then be brought back into the fold. What's important for Bazunu is that he keeps playing in the Manchester City vein, you might say, playing the ball, being good at the ball with his feet, and excellent distribution. Because the attributes when you play for City are probably a little different than when you play for every other club.
Yeah, and there was one stage that Bazunu got the ball. He went to pretend to pass the ball across, faked, I think it was Mitrovic, came back in, then kept on the ball, then switched a 50-yard pass cross field. And I think it ended up with a Hendricks opportunity, but it showed it went from the goalkeeper under a bit of pressure to us getting something at the end, an end product, which is something that we need is an end product. But it shows you that we can be comfortable on the ball when we need to be. Now, Johnny says here, Kenny needs more of those. I presume that's the performances, more consistency. And I think this is one of the things, Neil, that you look at with him. You look over the 3 games, Stephen Kenny's Ireland, and you have a Portugal game that they performed well, an Azerbaijan game that they were fairly average, if below that, really. And then they come out and they perform like that again against Serbia. It does. The consistency is huge. And it's kind of been like that since he started. He started off great. I think was a Serbia away. Who did we get beaten on penalties by in? Oh God, I can't remember. I remember we got knocked out of the Nations League, but I can't even remember that far back now. But the team put in a solid performance in that. We got knocked out on penalties. And then we just had those up and down performances. Is that expected, I suppose, when you're trying so many new different players?
Yeah, well, I think some of it with Kenny was the fact that he was missing quite a few of the regulars in his early tenure, the first maybe 5 games. You remember there was guys dropping out, there was COVID, there was all sorts of stuff interfering with him getting a good team on the pitch even. I think he's put more of a mark on the team now. He's brought in his own players. And I mean, let's be honest, if you look at kind of the midfield there tonight, you've got the likes of Cullen, McGrath, Hendrick, Brown. These are lads that have been around him now that he's brought in. That are, well, not Jeff Hendrick, but these are guys that not everybody would have been over familiar with. So now he's put his mark on the team and the way he wants to play. I think he's getting the performances because he has been more consistent in the starting 11, or at least in his formation, maybe since he's kind of switched to the 3 at the back. Maybe that's forced his hand somewhat, but at the same time, he's still sticking to the same personnel. So if he can keep them fit and keep producing this, as he said, he needs that consistency now. So it's no good doing it for Portugal, doing it for Serbia, and then going out in your next game, what is it, October, against Azerbaijan. So they need to come up with a big result. The Stephen Kenny debate is going to rage on, and even tonight, like, that hasn't kept him safe by any means, but it's given him a fighting chance. So what he needs to do now is get out and bring that type of performance and the Portugal type of performance into the Azerbaijan game, and not fall into that trap of kind of, you know, when you're playing them lesser teams where you can't produce the football. So that's the next big test for him, you know.
Who over the 3 games has played their way in for you?
I don't know if it's a case of playing his way in. It's a horrible situation. I looked at Matt Doherty tonight, and it's a shame that you have Matt Doherty and Seamus Coleman both in the same position. Now, I don't see Seamus Coleman as the right-hand side of your back 3. I think, was it Bomadeli? He's the guy now. You're going to be looking to him. What a performance tonight. Like, he looked real calm. He looked assured. If you can blood a guy like that to come in and play, maybe he would be your answer, so you wouldn't have to go back to that Seamus Coleman scenario. Matt Doherty, I thought, did equally well on the left-hand side of the 5, you might call it. That leaves you with Seamus Coleman in his natural position. Adam Ida, I think, has... I don't know if we've other options as a target man, as a guy that's as agile, young, that can put in the legs that he does. I think there was a massive increase in the amount of possessions he won. This is against Portugal as well, and against the likes of Pepe and guys like that, Ruben Diaz. He was holding his own and holding the ball up. That was massive for me, because in the previous games, I remember there was a little analysis done where the ball was hitting off him and rebounding away. So he's definitely caught the eye, and I think he's made that shirt his. I've maybe question marks over whether we've something or can get something a little bit better than him, like a goal scorer. But they would be ones that have stood out for me for now. I think the likes of Cullen, he's gotten a couple of games now and he's done well. but you just want to see more of him now, I guess.
Yeah, and when you look at that midfield now, you've got McGrath, Cullen, Hendricks, and Brown tonight. When you look at it, it was kind of like a four in midfield, but you're looking for Brown, of course, to link up. Would you prefer to have two up front, or do you like to have that person like Brown in behind who can link up and maybe cause an overload in that midfield if they have three in midfield?
Yeah, I always thought the idea of playing five in the five at the back or five across the middle, depending on what way you want to look at it, is to get that extra man up to your striker. Now, if Brown is that guy that's going to give us that, great. But I still think if you look at tonight, you'd Matt Doherty and McLean. He didn't have, it's completely different to the way he played Parrott and Conley the other night. You know what I mean? So it's for me. I think if you're maybe away from home, I'd be looking to play almost the way we did tonight. But when you're at home, I did quite like the attacking three, as in a Parrott with Ida and Conley. But maybe they were a little bit, as in that scenario, square peg round hole. I don't know if they were the ideal position. I thought Troy Parrott might even play in behind Ida. Would that not be more of his natural position rather than a wide left? So maybe he has to figure that out, what way he wants to go. They're both as effective if you have the right personnel. But if you're putting square pegs in round holes, it doesn't work for me, the way.
Yeah, I think Troy Parra has to, like a bit like what we were talking earlier on, has to find a bit more consistency to get that sort of continuous role in the team. Jared said, God, that was rubbish, wasn't it? I don't know if that's a kick at us or a kick at the team or who was a kick at, but yes, in a way, we know what you mean. It wasn't rubbish. But again, just to go on what Jared's saying there, I do think that the commentary were going a little bit over the top on how we were playing. Kind of like we were destroying them 2 or 3-0, and this is the best performance we've ever had in our life. It was a good performance. There was a lot to it. I mean, great defending. Goalkeeper was brilliant. Possession much better. Finished the second half, over half of the second half, hugely the better side. But again, we have those issues up front in the final third where we're not very creative up there. We do put pressure on. We do get crosses in. Even with the crosses, we don't have anyone who can go and attack crosses or is a threat there. Like of course, if you had Shane Duffy playing up front, of course it'd be a threat. But we don't have anyone there at the moment. So. Yeah. While we are playing well in that game, we played well against Portugal. We didn't. I think against Azerbaijan, it showed how limited we are. There's still lots to work on. How do you work on that when, I suppose, you just don't have the players and you can't buy them in?
Yeah, I think that's what it all comes down to, though, right? Where I guess when you're Ireland, you're looking to upgrade every position at all stages. And the midfield for me is kind of maybe we're lacking that dominant player or that more creative player. Like you look at Serbia tonight, the technical players they had going forward and the hits on the break were superb at times. And I don't say they cut us open, but they opened us up wide maybe and brought the better players in. It's like their method of play was far more effective. And we just don't have that quality of player. I'm sorry. Now, say that was rubbish. If you look at stats tonight, we had like a 40%. Yeah, we had a 40% possession. They had 60. They had 17 shots. We had 4. We'd 1 shot on target. They had 10. And I would presume our 1 shot on target wasn't the OG, right? So we scored a goal with 1 shot on target, you might say. So that's 100% where we need to improve. How he does that now, I don't know, because his personnel is not going to change a whole lot between now and October the 9th. He's
I'm just going to go through what Jared's saying. You can finish off there, Neil.
Yep.
He says, we were standing off them even in our own half. We only woke up after 75 minutes. Bazunu was great. Other than that, poor all around. Hendrick struggled to move. McGrath's passing was bad. I think Doherty's passing was a constant repeat between those three. Seen it at least a dozen times. I personally, I think Jared is being overly critical. I do think that there was players out there who did play well. I think that you look at, I think Duffy has been good in the 3 games. I thought he was good again tonight. I think Omar Bandele was really good. I thought Doherty was good. I thought James McLean, while he's James McLean, did the best James McLean that he possibly could. He worked hard. He did get crosses in better than he did the other night, where he was struggling to get crosses in, really, or didn't really want to do it early. I'm not sure what was going on with him. I think there was a lot of performances in there that were good. I thought 75th minute, I wouldn't agree with that either. I think it was probably about 10 minutes before that. We had a good 25-minute spell where we put them under a lot of pressure. But terrible? No, I do think there's still a lot to work on. And when Kyle says that's a good result tonight, Serbia are an outstanding side with some world-class players, I think there's a point in that as well, Nick.
Yeah, so again, I'm kind of caught in between there, Jared, and not. I think the RT commentary, I actually caught it. I had it in me AirPods, and when I was walking along, and sometimes I thought, Jesus, you'd swear we were winning 3-0 the way they're going on. They were trying to vindicate the fact that this performance now means something, But bear in mind, I don't want to say we'd nothing to play for, but we could take the shackles off a bit tonight. I thought the reverse side of that was that we were very open at times when we misplaced the pass. This is agreeing with Jared. When we misplaced the pass in the midfield, they nearly punished us on several occasions by coming at us. They were at our back 3, kind of a 2 versus 3, or at times they overloaded. Mitrovic got in. There's a reason again why I say Bazunu got the man of the match, because he took off critical saves. We did, that little passage of plays. He's saying that a little triangle of Doherty and Omabama Daly. We invited a bit of pressure at times, where I appreciate them playing out. I appreciate them wanting to play football, and I appreciate them being instructed to do so and sticking to their guns. It takes a bit of bravery, but maybe tone it down that little bit, where you're not overdoing it and you're not inviting pressure, and maybe you're not leaving yourself as open, in particular through the middle when you turn over possession.
Yeah, okay. League of Ireland fan, Ireland were awful, completely outplayed. Don't necessarily agree with that. I do think that Serbia were better, as you said, than the commentary were. I suppose giving them credit for. I think they're giving Ireland a lot more credit for an amazing performance, when it was a lot better, and a performance I think that deserves to get a draw, in my opinion. Jared again, and I'm delighted Jared's getting stuck in here. McLean was struggling back to track back too. Passion was there, yes, but passion alone is not enough. Are we happy to just participate, or do we want to qualify? I think it's 100% we want to qualify. Jared might pass on what his thoughts on, does he want Stephen Kenny in, or is he looking for Stephen Kenny out? My opinion still is, I think Stephen Kenny deserves the opportunity to finish this campaign off. I still think he deserves the opportunity. He has so many different players. As you said already, Neil, the first 5-6 games or so, he's players dropping out left, right and centre. He's never had a real settled team. This is probably the first time he's had a somewhat settled side squad.
3 games.
So, yeah, for these 3 games. So I'd like to give him more of an opportunity. I believe that the Nations League is on up to next June or whatever. I think there's games in that. So I'd like to see those games being played under himself as well. And I think there's under 21 players that are coming through that are of quality that would do this team. I think it'd lift it. I think there's some players in there that would be better than the players that are already in this squad. So, Neil, are we happy to just participate? Do we want to qualify? And is there anything that has to change for us to qualify?
No, we're not just happy, and we definitely want to qualify. But I think Serbia are a smashing side. One of the guys said it there beforehand. They really are a really good. They're an experienced, aged, technical side. Serbia. They've all been together. I imagine Mitrovic, Tadic, and all these lads are into their late 20s, early 30s. These guys have been around the block quite a while. So I actually thought they caused us way more problems than Portugal caused us. For example, I thought we were too open tonight, and I thought we really limited Portugal. And we stopped Portugal from playing the way they wanted. And Portugal has some fantastic players. But Serbia, I thought definitely at times we were the kind of our own downfall by losing cheap possession, where we wouldn't have done so under previous managers.
Were we a bit more open though, Neil, tonight against Serbia? As in, we were looking to attack, where against Portugal, I think we had 3 or 4 opportunities in the first half where we did well getting out, but it wasn't we weren't looking. We were very conscious of our defensive positions against Portugal.
Yeah, I just felt like, when you watch the Premier League and it's the last day of the season and each team just goes at each other hammer and tongs and there's no consequence. Ireland played a little bit like that. I don't want to say reckless, but I think they definitely tried to play more football. They took more risks. And when you take more risks at international level, sometimes you end up getting a punch in the face. But it's kind of, again, I'm caught with that moment of I'm applauding that they're trying to play and it's more pretty on the eye. But at the end of the day, Roy, we're no near qualifying. We're out halfway through a qualifying campaign, and that still has to hurt. So you're either going to look at it glass half empty, glass half full. On one hand, I want to say I'm glad that he's got a performance like that out of him football-wise, but he needs to tighten up on the things that are going to give away goals. Like, I still think we could have conceded 2 or 3 more goals tonight. It was ironic we conceded a set piece, but he needs to be tighter. He definitely wants to be tighter. And on that, for Germany, he's already said he's been planning for Germany. Isn't that what he said in the press conference?
Yeah, I mean,
that's rubbed a few people up.
He has to say that because he's not planning for Qatar, in all fairness.
That's for sure,
That's done and dusted. You have to remember as well, Serbia had 2 proper games and an irrelevant friendly against Qatar. We had 3 games. And that is, as you said, 6 days, 3 games. That does take it out of you.
Yeah, I mean, look at Seamus Coleman. Seamus Coleman, there's no way he's going to play the 3rd game. So that'll give you an idea. And he's a seasoned pro. And you can't tell me Seamus Coleman would have dragged himself onto the field there tonight if he was allowed. So that's a massive undertaking to play that many games. You have to be a serious athlete. Like, we looked tired at the end of the game against Azerbaijan. I thought a couple of guys looked tired after 2 games. And then tonight, there was a couple of more fresh faces put in there. It is a big ask. But that said, Serbia, albeit, as they say, in the 75th minute, Serbia had a little wobble maybe 10 minutes to go where they didn't exactly look like they were trucking over either, regardless of the games that they've played. So it's hard to know. Probably warm in there tonight as well. I'd say it was energy zapping, but it's a big ask to play that many games in a short period of time.
Yeah. Kyle and Jared, if you want to comment on this, who do you think for your next games? Obviously, I know Brown is out. Who else is out? There's another player out. It could be Malumbi, is it? But we're missing. I think we're missing a couple of players. But irrelevant. That's irrelevant. Just what would be your best 11 now? Who do you think slots in there as your best 11? Because we can talk about, the players. We can talk about the style of play. We can talk about Stephen Kenny. But we do have only a certain amount of players. Who's the best 11 for you?
I think you need to decide on a formation, as in, like, if you look at tonight, he played Ida and he played how many through the middle there? There was McGrath, Cullen, Hendrick, Brown. So say Brown was your 9 as such, he played in behind. I don't know if I'm mad on that. And in the 4-3-3, I think the formation he played with, it's Parrott and Connolly. I'm just saying I'm not sure it's Parrott and Connolly that should be in them 2 positions. So I think if you decide on a formation, maybe you can put a few names to them. I think the way he played tonight, Jeff Hendrick, he's a little bit like Marmite. I'm sure if Dave was here tonight, he'd be kind of, if humming and hawing about him, that way you don't know what you're going to get with Jeff Hendrick anymore. And it feels like he's been there 15 years and he certainly hasn't. But
do you need that experience though in there of a Hendricks? Because you've got Cullen, you've got Malumbi. Brown, I suppose, has gained a bit of experience in there. Is Hendricks the person who just kind of maybe talks to people in there, just shifts them around, guides them around, rather? You're kind of just hoping that he has a decent game. I mean, who else fits in there? That, I mean, Hourahan, Dave said it at the weekend. Hourahan doesn't do much apart from take a corner, and now he's not even taking great corners.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Yeah, he's a set piece specialist who's not so special anymore. So I think we need to get I was looking tonight, when we turned over possession tonight, Hendrick was the one that was trying to get back to help the back 3. He seemed to be the first to try to get back. But like, Jeff Hendrick's not a CDM. He's not a screening player. Jeff Hendrick burst onto the scene kind of playing in behind, maybe the front man and kind of getting in on goal, and he had a touch of class, a shot off and stuff like that. And
you seen that tonight with the shot that he got in the first half where he nudged him out of the way. Thorne took the early shot, and probably bar the goal that we got, the closest to scoring.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of these things. Like if you look across the water at England, England played the three at the back quite a lot, and they also play two holding midfielders. But they've got the luxury of having someone that can stretch the game or score a goal at will. Do Ireland need two CDMs as such that we're tight and we're not conceding and we're not giving away cheap passes? But Kenny does give them the right to roam, and that midfield three that we had even there tonight of McGrath, Hendrick, Cullen, they'll interchange, but maybe I would stick with the 100%. I stick with the three at the back. I'd stick with the two wing backs, and I think we've good wing backs, be it McLean, be it what's his name, Seamus Coleman, or be it Matt Doherty. It's just a question: have we got better quality, or do these players need more time, and do they need more caps, and do they need more experience? Like Adam Ida has come up in my estimation, maybe from 5 games ago by quite a lot. I think he's done very well against Portugal and very well tonight. But maybe one of the other two, maybe Cullen, maybe McGrath, maybe Hendrick, you're looking to get a better balance in there. But you're only going to see that right when you get more games.
Yeah. For me, and again, Jared's after chipping in there, he doesn't think that the three at the back and the wingers suit us. I actually thought before any of these World Cup qualifiers started, I was calling for a three at the back, only because of the players that we have in the positions. The only way you were going to fit Coleman and Doherty in were to play them as wing backs. Coleman can slot into a back three, but he's not natural. And you can see that against Azerbaijan. He didn't get out and close. It's not an area where he in the centre of defence, you have to close early, quick. You have to get up on top of them. You can't let them get a shot off. When you're out wide, you can give them that little bit more space so they don't run you. And that's kind of the way he defended there. So I'm happier with Coleman being right full and Doherty being left full or left wing back. I think they do a good job in that system. I also think that it gives us the extra man up front, because for too long when Ireland were playing, we had one man up front isolated. And you said tonight, Ida was a bit isolated at times. I think more as we got tired in the start of the second half. And then we caught back up in them again. Then we got our second wind in the second half and players were pushing forward and we started to help him out. Now, he was knackered himself. So I like the three, you can call it whatever you want. It's 3-5-2, 3-4, whatever it is. I think it's 3-5-2. It's starting positions, really. With your 4-3-3s, you only have one focal point, so that would be Adam Ida at the moment. Adam Ida isn't scoring goals with his head. He's actually not even threatening with his head. So do we need to have two, say like Collins, up there, someone up there to be able to hit a ball into that they can attack the ball? We don't have anyone who's going and attacking the ball. I think we've stuck in loads of crosses. I can't remember how many headers we got, unless it was Shane Duffy.
Yeah, I think, look, Ireland have been playing that way for some time. The whole Shane Long scored one header against England. All of a sudden, we're launching balls in left and right. But if you look at what Serbia did tonight, they did Mitrovic, Tadic and Vlahovic up front. But I thought that Mitrovic is their focal point. And maybe like you're saying with Collins, we need a better focal point. Or else we need a different game plan. So where the goal is going to come from? Are we going to cut a side open, whether we play Connolly and Troy Parrott? Are we going to, get up to Ida and then overload them? If I look back to the Portugal game, I thought we caused Portugal more problems by running into the channels with the likes of Ida and then trying someone from the midfield breaking forward. Maybe that could be your answer. But we're the side that's lacked goals for a long, long time now. We've only produced Robbie Keane and who else in the last 50 years nearly at this stage? You know what I mean? You had a lot of 15, 12 goal type of guys, but never anyone in the vein of a Robbie Keane. So we need to come up with answers. But maybe it's, as you say, a Collins and Ida or someone playing in behind them, a little bit more forward thinking. Maybe it's a Parra in behind an Ida, but we do need to find a solution to that, be it in the under 21s or whoever's up and coming.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Jared, for chipping in on the conversations. Right. Appreciate that. Kyle says, Bazunu, Coleman, Egan, Duffy, Doherty, Cullen, Hendricks, McGrath, Connolly, Ida, Parrott. So 4 at the back. Pivot of Cullen and Hendricks and McGrath in the number 10. So that's interesting. You're going for a 3 up front. Looking at the game the other night, Kyle, looking at Connolly, Ida, and Parrott against Azerbaijan, even Connolly against Portugal, I think Connolly was probably one of the poorer players on the night. I don't see that at the moment. I don't see that putting those three up front as, Connolly, if you're playing a 4-3-3, probably playing wider. I don't think Parrott suits the wide position. It suits Connolly better because he's probably more of a winger than he is a striker. He likes to get the ball and run at players, but he hasn't perfected that either. So I think I'd be happier with the two, having two in the box. Look, how many times did we try to cross the ball today? If we have people in the box, so if we had two centre forwards, we might be going back to the days where you had a Quinn and Phillips or a Quinn and Keane for Irish things, or a Cascarino and Aldridge or whoever it is, but one big, one small. So, Collins is there. He's the only one at the moment who can attack a ball with any sort of venom. What do you think, Neil? Do you think that there's a chance of Connolly, Ida, and Parrott as a front three? Or
well, I think he kind of indicated the other night, didn't he? Like, he had them wide left, wide right. It just, as I say, I just don't think it suits, and I'll agree with you. I don't think it suits Parrott. If you're going to play Parrott anywhere tonight, I might have played him in Brown's position in behind Ida. Connolly, I have no problem with Connolly playing either up front or wide left, and I know we probably gave him a bit of a hard time the other night because his final kind of ball isn't great and all, but Connolly hasn't had that many caps for Ireland, and he's not playing well. He got the bullet from Brighton as such, but we need him playing more. Maybe you'll see more with him with more games. He just reeks to me as a kid that's still very young and is learning the trade. It might be a little bit easy for us to sit here and say he doesn't have the final ball or he goes to bits, but it's international football. It's a huge step up that he's played before. So maybe he just needs time if he's going to be that guy. But he is strong, he's fast, he's willing. He's a little bit of the Timo Werner about him at the moment, I guess, that he's making the wrong decision at the wrong time. But I'd stick with a guy like Connolly just purely because of his age.
Okay. Is it a case that the players that we have, you have to expect inconsistency? When you're that age, you're still finding your feet. You're still trying to figure out your game. You don't have the experience, basically. And I suppose one of the big highlights in anyone's career would be Cristiano Ronaldo's, and the amount of time Eamon Dunphy turned around and called him rubbish or con artists or whatever. But at that stage, he was only 19, 20, 21, learning his trade, loads of tricks. Did it one week, didn't do it another week. None of our lads are anywhere near what Ronaldo was back then. But it's no matter what level you play at, you are always going to have those inconsistent weeks, but you will see progress over a couple of years. So really, are we just hoping for the next year that all these players are going to gain that experience, and that is 2024, that you're hoping that they've gained so much experience that we can make the next step?
If you look back, Roy, what was it, like 15 years ago, when you kind of had stalwarts, of a team, and you brought in one or two young lads to kind of galvanise that team and blood them. Remember, they used to always say, such and such a tournament's coming up now. Remember, they used to head off to the States during the summer and all. And you were always talking about blooding these young players and giving them game time. Eddie's had no choice. He's had to throw these guys in. Like, I'm looking at, Alan Brown, Cullen and McGrath, who are in there tonight. They are like 24, 25, 26 or something like that. It's not young, but I guess in football terms, in international terms, in caps, it's very, very young. They're very green at that age. Whereas I guarantee you line them up against Serbia and they'll have a massive amount of caps between the whole team. So we're playing catch up a little bit in the Kenny tenure, that these guys haven't been knocking around for years. He hasn't had the luxury. I think he's been better since he's sorted Egan. Duffy's a little bit more form. He's found one or two more defenders that can do a job. Great. The midfield now for me is the next area where it's sink or swim time. He must be hoping now that he's blooding these lads in the right way, that they'll grow a bit, they'll come of age, they'll be better on the ball, they'll be wiser on the ball, they'll use it better. And they're all the things. It has to go that way or he's going to be out of a job, because he's putting all his faith to these guys. But I don't think it's too much to ask that we wait and give them time. We've no choice now. Anyway, look, we're out of the qualifying campaign. So let's see where the next, whatever it is, 4 games takes us with these guys.
Yeah. Kyle's still talking about formations, and I'm happy to be talking about formations. It was said the other night to me that formations don't win you matches, but it certainly is a starting point for a team. And I think formations can lose you matches. And I think the formation the other night, where Stephen Kenny actually said it himself against Azerbaijan, that he thinks that we're playing a 3-4-3 all the time, but it's definitely a 3-5-2 that we played against Portugal, and definitely more or less a 3-5-2, or you can call it a 3-5-1-1. But it doesn't make a difference. It's about the players in those positions. They're only starting positions, but 5 at the back, 2 sitting in front of them. I think that's kind of the way we played against Portugal now.
Yeah. I mean, to Keys, what he's trying to say there, he always ends in a 2 and a 1 in behind. So, I mean, that's, you need to give the players the freedom, to get into these positions. As you said, right, the formation doesn't matter. It's what the instruction is to the player. Are you telling, your Jeff Hendrick or your Cullen or your Brown, get in and top of Ida the minute he's in there, take the risk. We still have a holding midfielder. We're in possession of the ball. That's how we're going to cause, I've written down in my match notes, the overload. How many times we crossed the ball in and we didn't have any overload, other than when Brown missed controls, and I think one of them flew over Ida's head. He was never going to head it. But when we looked dangerous, i.e. the goal, i.e. against Azerbaijan when we got the equalisers, when we overloaded the box. Now, we shouldn't have to rely on overloading the box with our centre-backs all the time. It should be like that, as he's saying, where you're overloading with a 2 and a 1. In that case tonight, it would have been Ida and Brown, and then one of maybe McGrath, Hendrick, or a Doherty flying in on the back post. But we have to be brave enough to do that. We have to hold the ball with possession, knowing we're going to get up the wing without worry and without fear, or else we're just not going to score. So the formation, as you're saying, it is important, but at the same time, it's the willingness and the courage of the players to get into the box, to make that run, that will make a difference at the end of the day. And again, maybe that experience will help them with that.
Yeah. Stephen Kenny now is probably a year now into his term. How we know that he's under pressure, as in, only one win in all these games, and that's a friendly against Andorra. So there's not much there, and we know that he's building. We can all see that. We know that he's getting new players in. He's bedded new players in, and in all fairness, the players that he's bedded in are actually probably some of the better players. As we said, Bazunu. So what does he have to do between now and next May to, I suppose, give himself another contract for the Euros?
I think he needs to follow up tonight in exactly the same. He kind of almost, in the next game is Azerbaijan away, he needs to come out in the same manner they did tonight, as in play the football. Azerbaijan are absolutely nowhere near in the same league as Serbia. You know what I mean? There's not even a comparison. So I think Stephen Kelly said tonight, if we play like this, we'll be hammering the likes of Azerbaijan and Luxembourg. So let's go and do that. Let's go out and put the proof where the pudding is. I think Kenny needs a couple of wins. He needs results now. I think we've seen the performances, and again, I have my match notes written down. The players are definitely playing for him. Like, he hasn't lost, there's no talk of losing the dressing room. I think there is a positiveness in the way he has them playing, and they've responded to it. So now he needs results. And unfortunately, football is a results-based game. I want him to succeed. I want him to succeed in the way he's playing football and in the expressions the players are doing. I'm sick of the years, like we've said it for decades. We were sick of the times with Trapattoni and Martin O'Neill and the manner in which they made us play. I know they got results, and I know it was effective. So now Kenny has to find a balance to the openness, to the football he wants them to play, but he has to back it up with results. So if you turn around at the end of this qualifying campaign and Ireland are in last or second last place, you're going to look at his last few results and say he's X amount of wins and it looks terrible. But he needs to help himself now by getting results, following on the performances and getting results.
Yeah. Well, let's hope he can do that, and let's hope the team can do that. One thing, just to finish off, Neil, there was a lot of talk this week about whether he would be in a job come tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. There's been a lot of pressure on him. He came back out and fought his corner, I suppose. When you look at the crowd tonight, there is no way that you could say that it's the supporters who are not behind them. It's more, I suppose, the media who are looking maybe to put a bit of pressure on them, maybe just the stories. But when you look at that atmosphere that was there tonight, you looked when we went 1-0 down, there was no booing, there was no turning on them, there was no turning on the team. Every single supporter was behind this team. And it shows you then that actually there is huge support for Stephen Kenny, even with the miserable record he has.
Yeah, listen, do you know what it is, right? Even when Brian Kerr was there, and you could feel that kind of passion Brian Kerr had for Ireland. He was an Irishman, born and bred, League of Ireland. He come up through the ranks. It doesn't happen very often. Stephen Kenny's the next in line now, and you can't say he hasn't earned it. Damn right he's earned it, and he got a chance. I think everyone, and I hope that everyone is, like, just no one goes into an Ireland game hoping that they lose to get rid of the manager. Like, we've never been like that. I just, we want them so desperately to do well. We want them so desperately to succeed. And I think the crowd bought into that tonight. I think the crowd helped the team tonight, especially in the last 20 minutes when maybe we were not lacking belief, but we needed that extra lift. And look, that's what your home crowd is meant to do. Any kind of decent fan out there wants them to do well and succeed. But then we can only do so much. He has to help himself by going out now and getting him some results. And as a manager of the team, the axe will ultimately lay with him. It'll fall on him. And we just hope that he does enough in the next few games now to say, I've given myself a chance for the next campaign. So, fingers crossed he does that. He finds ways of doing that, and he finds solutions to get these players scoring goals and winning games.
Yeah, okay, we're going to leave it there. Thanks very much to everyone who threw a comment in. Kyle, Gerard, League of Ireland fan, and many others there that I will have to go back and search through and say. Thanks very much, Neil. Don't forget the big kickoff League of Ireland sports bars on every week, as is the big kickoff football show on a Sunday at 8 o'clock. Thanks, Mark. Cheers. Don't forget to tune in and spread the word about us, and let's hope that October and November and the rest of 2022 is as positive as a couple of our games this week.